We're live, Gina.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to everyone in Facebook. Good morning to everyone in Zoom land. Good morning, and welcome to Woo Day 739. I can't believe it's 739 Woo sessions. Today, we're going to be talking about how to ace that job interview. We're going to just give you some tips. It's a short day today, a shorter presentation, but we'll be talking about things you can do when you're going out on a job interview, or not necessarily a job interview, but maybe also an interview of any kind where you have to make an impression on someone because you need something from them. So
Mhm.
good morning. Good morning. I see people are coming in.
Yeah, this is the live presentation right now.
Who's in? Ms. B, good morning. You want to mute yourself? Good morning, Mama
I thought
Amendola. Good
I thought I
morning.
wasn't.
Good morning. Good morning, Adam. Good morning,
Peace
Florence.
and
Good morning,
blessings.
Afriye. Yes, good morning, peace and blessing. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And welcome. Good morning. Good morning, sister. Good morning, everybody. Well, welcome to Woo Day 739. Woo Day 739. You can play that number. 739. So we're going to come in. Good morning again to Facebook. Good morning again to those in the Zoom space. And welcome. For this morning's session, you don't really need anything, maybe a pen and paper just to write some notes. Because even though you may not be going out on interviews, you may know someone who could use a few tips and a few hints. So feel free to write notes and share them with people. All right, good morning and welcome. Let's see what we got going on. Okay. Good morning. Okay, I think we have everyone here in place. Yes. So welcome, and thank you for joining. Thank you for logging on or dialing in or watching on Facebook, however you are joining us today. I appreciate you. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that you have a great session with me today.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together.
Good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to Woo Day 739. So it's Woo Session 739. I am Gina Leito-Diouf. I am the owner and operator of Sankofa Sojouns, where we travel and transform to heal racial trauma. Today, I'm going to be talking about job interviews and some things that you can do to make sure that your interview is successful. Okay, now being successful in your interview doesn't always mean you're going to get the job, because there are a lot of factors that go into play when you're actually selecting someone for work. But at least you want to always make sure that you have done your best and you have put your best foot forward, as they say, when you're on the interview. So we're going to do some talk. We're going to talk about that today. So asking for permission to begin. So I just wanted to know if do we have anyone in the space that's under 30? Anyone in the space that's under 40? Okay, is there anyone in the space that's under 50? Okay, Woo. Is there anyone in the space that's under 60? Sister Afrier, do we have permission to begin today?
Yes, we do.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. This time I wanted to do it in a different order. Usually we start from the elders and ask their permission to begin. But today I felt inspired to ask for the younger people in the group and ask their permission to begin. Because in general, these are the people who are going out into the world and trying to secure positions or funding for their businesses. And so I wanted to do it a little different today. So thank you. Thank you, sis. So as I was saying, acing a job interview has a lot of components. Now, ideally, it means you got the job as well. You did an interview, the interview went well, and you got called back for the job. And at the very least, the job was offered to you. So that is the goal in general when you're going out for interviews. But what I'm finding also is that a lot of people are going out on interviews sort of on a trial basis, because it's a new day. It's 2022. People are being more intentional about their lives. They're not just taking a job sometimes just to get a job. They've had a pause for a year or two, and they have a different approach. So things are very different in the job search game these days. So sometimes you're just going out on an interview just to flex your interview muscles and see how it feels. So I'm giving you some tips that you can take with you. And if it's not for you, maybe something you can share with someone. I've conducted a lot of job interviews. I don't know how many. I've been interviewing people for work since 2008. So in these last few years, I've seen a lot, and I've seen a lot of trends change with the interviewing world. So even before we get to the tips, something that has occurred to me is that there's a new style out there of the job interviews. It's called behavior-based questions. So a lot of times you may go to an interview prepared to tell everybody what your strengths and weaknesses are, or what list your accomplishments and your degrees or whatever it is that your credentials. And they may not be interested in any of that, and they may not ask you questions like that at all. They may ask you how you would perform in certain situations. Ask you to give, they may say, give me an example of a time when you had to figure out what to do with with little to no resources, things like that. And so the questions are different too when you're going out there looking for jobs. And likewise, if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for funding, because most entrepreneurs need investors. It's not always that you're going to have all the funding yourself to get that business up and running. You need to be able to present yourself to investors. You need to be able to be prepared for those conversations. So that's the first thing I wanted to share, is that some of these interviews may not go the way you are expecting them to go. If you haven't done it in a few years, it's always good to look it up. There's a website I just thought of called Glassdoor. And you can always go to glassdoor.com and just look up interview questions, and you can go, depending on the type of job you're going for, there's different questions. So that's one place, one resource that you can use when you're doing this. So, John, can we bring up the first slide, please? So we're going to talk about some things that you can do before you even get to the interview. Okay, some tips that you can use before you even, before anything has happened yet. So one thing that is, yeah. And before we go there, I'd like to ask a question. I'd like to hear your voices. Do you do anything to prepare for job interviews? What, if anything, do you do out to prepare for job interviews? Or someone would raise their digital hand and talk to the community about that.
Gina, we have Afuya with a hand raised.
Okay, very good. Miss Afriye, thank you. Tell us what you do to prepare for job interviews.
Well, one of the things I definitely do, I go on their work site. I check the salaries. I check the positions. I see what is their, it's not the motto. What is that called?
Oh, the mission statement.
The mission statement. I read the mission statement. If I know where I would be interviewing for, like what position and what location, I read up on what they do. So I familiarize myself with the agency. So if they ask me any questions about them, I'll be able to let them know what I know about them.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And that's a great tip. That's a wonderful idea because you want to work there. So you want to learn about that company, what's their mission, what's the culture, what do they do? That you might be interviewing for one particular thing. Maybe you're going to be, working in the lab, but it's a good idea to know, the background of the whole place, the hospital. If it's a hospital, you want to know what sort of place is this? What do we specialize in? What are we known for? So thank you. That's an excellent tip, everybody. That's one to make note of. Okay. So before there is a job interview, one has to be scheduled, right? There has to be a job that you want or something that you're applying for. So you have your resume, you have a resume. Make sure your resume is tailored to the position that you're applying for. I don't work in law enforcement. I get so many resumes that says, that they're seeking a position in law enforcement. My goal is to secure a position in law enforcement and blah, blah, blah. Or my goal is to secure a position in human resources. And none of that has anything to do with what they're doing with me when they come into my interview. So clearly that's an outdated resume, or it's a generic resume, which is fine to have one generic one. But if you talk to savvy people, they have a few resumes. They have a version for this and a version for that, and they tweak it each time according to who it is that they're submitting it to. So you want to tailor your resume to the position. And the next step, and this is part of the relationship that you're establishing with the agency or company. If somebody calls you to schedule the interview and they leave you a message, call them back. Okay. I cannot tell you how frustrating it is to have to call the person 2 or 3 times to offer them the interview for the position that they have applied for. Now, what I do is, the position that I hold, I'm required to call you at least twice. But in some fields, that's not a requirement. They're going to call you once. Hopefully they'll leave a message, because we all understand nowadays no one answers their phone because you don't know if it's a scam call. So people don't answer their phone, so you leave a message. Years ago, people wouldn't even leave a voicemail. They will call you. If you don't pick up, they move on to the next applicant. So, but nowadays we understand you have to give people time and grace. So we will leave a message if we can. But if someone leaves you a message, please return their call. When I do finally get the applicant, sometimes they say, "Oh, I got your message." Then why didn't you call me back? So take a minute, write it down if you need to, and just call them and let them know you got the message and you're ready to schedule the interview. And when speaking to the person who's scheduling the interview, you have no idea who you're talking to. The person that you're talking to could be your future boss. The person that you're talking to could be their assistant or intern. The person that you're working, talking to could be anyone. It could be someone that doesn't even work for that agency, but they're just handling the hiring. You don't know, so always be professional. Always be professional. I've had people be very sort of dismissive and casual when talking to me, not understanding I'm setting up the interview. I'm going to interview you, and we will be working together for maybe, for years. So always start on that excellent foot by being professional. When the person introduces themselves, write their name down, acknowledge who they are, because that, like I said, you may be later interviewing with that person, and it's a nice way, it's a nice icebreaker. Oh, that was you I spoke to, nice to finally see you, and something. So it helps you to establish a rapport. And even if you never see or hear from that person again, it's a great practice for you to always be professional, putting your best foot forward. When you're answering the phone and you realize that you're talking to the person that, is trying to set up your job interview, clean it up a little bit. You might answer the phone a little disturbed because, maybe you're in the middle of something, but you can just say, oh, okay, great. Can I have a minute? And just so you can breathe, collect yourself, and then speak, to be able to put yourself in that professional space mentally so that you can schedule that interview. And my last before the interview tip is have an appropriate email address. Okay. It's fine for you to be hot mama, 69 at gmail.com privately, but you should have another email address. And it could just be your name. It could just be your initials. My email address, my business email address is just my initials and my last name, because you need to have that email that can be used for for professional reasons. I've seen a lot of things in people's email addresses, and it's not appropriate. Now, does it make a difference? Is it going to tell me if this is a good employee or not? No, and I'm still going to give that person the same opportunity I would anyone else, regardless of what their email address is. But it just helps you in your presentation to the world, and definitely drop the college email. I get so many people who are out of college and they're still using the email address that they got in college. A Gmail account is free, and there are several other email accounts if you don't want to deal with Google, and I completely understand that. So get one of those, but get a professional email address. When you have .edu at the end of your email address, that's a no-go. It's time to grow up. It's time to cut the cord from the school and get out into the world. You're no longer, emailing your professors. You're emailing out in the professional world. Does anyone have any, do we have anything in the chat going on, John Carl?
Yes, we have Terry Ruffin said, yes, at one point I had 3 resumes with different educational levels on them to avoid the overqualified comment.
Absolutely. That is so on point, Terry, because that's exactly what happens. You're looking for work and maybe you just want, maybe you're trying to change. Maybe you want to shift gears and do something different. Sometimes they will tell you, oh, well, you might have a PhD in, English, and now you want to go and work at Whole Foods. They may, if you have the wrong resume, they may say, oh, this person is overqualified. She's not going to stay with us. Yeah, tailor your resume to the position that you're looking for. It's not even being dishonest, because you're going to tell them the truth up to a certain level, but it's just certain things may automatically disqualify you, automatically. Anything else in the chat before we move on? Okay. So does anyone have any reflections or questions or comments on this?
There was one more comment in the chat from Z. She said, even if you're still in school, you should have a separate email for anything that is not related to school.
Thank you, Z.
Yeah.
That is such a great point.
Yeah.
Right.
I also asked the question earlier, Gina. I posted in the chat. I asked if the WU community could share whether they align with employee, employer, or even both.
Oh, that's great.
You're looking at the information from different levels, but it's valuable for everyone because I myself, I work with others, and I have people who I employ who work for me, and then I have partnerships.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then so you have to be the employer and bring people on, and then you also have to secure partners. So it's always good, no matter which end. You could be an employee, an employer, you could be an entrepreneur. But yeah, these sort of presentation skills will help you in all of those arenas. Yes, thank you, John Carl.
You're welcome.
All right. If there are no more comments or questions, we can move on to the next slide. Okay, yes, so now you got the interview, you got through the phone calls, and you got everything taken care of. So now you have the job interview. So one of the first things you want to do is dress appropriately for the position that you're trying to secure. So I no longer say like, oh, wear a suit or anything, because like I said, things have changed. I do not see suits. Since COVID, I very rarely see anyone in a suit on a job interview. Maybe the men sometimes will have on a suit jacket and tie and shirt, but a lot of times they don't either. It'll just be the shirt and the tie. You're at home. I guess some people just don't feel comfortable putting on a full suit. But it's very rare now that you will see someone in an actual suit. So as a person who's doing these things, I don't see, it's not that, again, it's not a judgment. It's not like you're saying, oh, this person didn't wear a suit, so they're not going to get the job. But it's just a trend that I'm noticing. But just still be appropriate. You want to dress appropriately. You're not going to a party. Likewise, you're also not going to a barbecue in the backyard. You don't want to have on a wrinkly t-shirt and, or just something that's just way too, exposing too much a tank top, a man in a tank top or a lady. And this, likewise, you want to dress appropriately for the job. Now, I've never interviewed anybody that's going to be working in a strip club. Maybe that's appropriate there. Maybe if you're going to be a dancer, you would wear dance attire, because maybe you may have to do a little audition, who knows? So that would be appropriate for that venue. So it's not a one size fits all type of thing, but you want to dress appropriately for whatever it is that the job is. And you definitely want to be on camera if it's a virtual interview. Okay, for virtual interviews, almost, and since COVID, all the interviews I've done have been virtual. So you want to always make sure that you are on camera and in a place where you can be on camera, I understand that everybody's situation is different and sometimes it's hard, so you can, if you have the capacity to blur your background, do that, because maybe you live with roommates and you just have that space and that's it. So blur your background. So at least if they're here, if they're home or living right next to you, they don't have to be distracting and in the interview. And also if you can, control the environment around you. So the sounds that are in the background with you, see if you can do anything about that. Again, you may have children, you may have a family, you may have pets and things. So you just want to let everyone know, okay, I'll be, on this interview for however long, 15 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. If you could please try to just be quiet and, and stay in the background. If maybe they don't have another room they can go to, but maybe they can just, be quiet in the background, ask them to turn the music down if you can, something like that. Do what you can to try to control the environment, make it ideal for you, because this is your interview too. You want to be comfortable while you're doing it. And you don't want to be like, oh no, my kids are making noise, excuse me, because that makes you nervous and jittery too. So try to control the environment. What else? Maintain control of your emotions. I put that there because you would be surprised how many times people cry during a job interview, okay? And it's just off-putting. It's very off-putting. Now, again, things come up, emotions come up, and it's natural. This is your natural release of tears. As we say here, you know, in the woo spaces, libations, tears are libations, mop them, but don't stop them, right? Shawnee always tells us that. So, but when you're having a job interview, if you feel like you're becoming emotionally overwhelmed, ask for a few minutes to just take a break, put yourself on pause, you know, go off camera for a minute, go have your cry, wash your face, and come back. Okay. But you know, try your best to maintain control, breathe. You know, you'd be surprised how many times I, as the interviewer, tell someone, okay, I want you to take a deep breath now. And they don't. And I have to insist before we move on. I will have to say, no, you need to breathe right now. I can feel it. So try to breathe. That's it. What did that take? 10 seconds? That took 10 seconds and it takes the edge off and you can keep going. So, you know, try your best to maintain control. And if you feel like you're losing control, which we all do, we're human, just ask for a minute. Say, excuse me, can I have a couple of minutes? I need to take care of something. You don't even have to say, I need to go cry. Just, I need to take care of something. Excuse me, I'm sorry for the interruption. You know, life happens and everyone understands that. I would also ask you during the interview, listen to the questions that are asked and answer the questions completely and answer each question. It's really hard to evaluate you when I have unanswered questions, when you say, I don't know, or that's never happened to me before. Because a lot of times, if I ask you a situational question and tell me how you would react in such a situation, I will also tell you, if it's never happened, tell me how you would react in that situation. So I'm giving you the opportunity to use your imagination and think and place yourself in that position, because maybe you've never had that experience, and that's fine. We're all different, but I want to know because it's important to me. As you know, as one of your people, one of your colleagues, I need to know how you would handle that, you know, before I can say, yes, this person should join the team. So don't say, you know, that's never happened to me before, and leave it at that. You say, that's never happened to me before, but if it had, this is what I would do. Okay, this is the time for you to think on your feet. This is not the time for you to just draw blanks. You know, so again, a breath. You say, you know what, can I think about that for a second? Take a breath. Go back through your memory. Take a minute, okay? It's important. Those questions are being asked of you for a reason. At the end of the day, those answers will be evaluated. And we hate to say it, but it's sort of like, it's make or break. If you don't have, and if we don't have answers to go by, then, you know, what can you expect? You know, you may not hear back from us. Okay, so we talked about, if it's online, minimizing background noise and interruptions already. Okay. Do we have any comments or questions? Anything going on in the chat?
Yes, we do. I'm happy you asked. In reference to what you just said, right before you said it, Cheryl Glenn and FB shared, Grand Rising, I dress for the part, know something about the company and the job, and say a prayer that I get the job. Which is in reference to what you shared just now.
Okay, so that's how you prepare. Yeah, okay, and that's so important. Yes, use all your tools. Use your prayers, use your affirmations, use your meditations. It works everywhere. It's not just in your spiritual life, it's in your life. So all of these things are wonderful ways to prepare for a job interview. And during the interview, you can keep doing them to yourself, you know. You can keep saying the things to yourself in your head that are going to keep you forward. You can keep giving yourself affirmations. You can keep saying prayers, you know, so that you can get the job that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before that, Terry made a reference to getting prepared and stuff like that. She said, do a Zoom test prior to interviewing to see how you will present on camera. Make you the focus, not the background, not your background.
Excellent. Thank you, Terry. That's so good. That's wonderful advice. And that's another thing to write down. That's true. Go on Zoom yourself, by yourself, test it out, see how it looks. And that's true. While we're talking technology, make sure it's working, make sure it's plugged in, and charged, fully charged, whatever device you're going to use during that virtual interview. And if it's an interview that's physical, where you actually have to go someplace, map out the itinerary before you go. Maybe you know where it is. Maybe you have never been there. So you want to Google map it or do whatever maps program you have to see, well, how long is it going to take me to get there? What means of transportation do I need to get there? Because you don't want to be late. You don't want to be late. It's easy nowadays with logging on. You log on, on time. But if you have to physically show up, you want to make sure that you are there a little early. You don't have to come an hour early unless you really want to, but you should be there a few minutes early so that when they're ready, you are ready. Okay. Okay, so we are at 7:30. Thank you, John Paul. We're at 7:30. So we're almost done. So I just need probably another 10 minutes, if you don't mind hanging in there with us, and then we'll be wrapping up. Oh, and before, I'm sorry, this has become my new pet peeve in 2022. Ghosting. And I don't know how I left this out. Don't ghost. If you say you will attend the interview, come to the interview. And if you don't want the job anymore, say so before the interview. If they emailed you, you can email them back. If they called you, you can call them back. But if you need to cancel or reschedule, you should before the interview. The best course of action is to do that. Do not ghost. Do not just not log on or just, and that's ghosting, right? Just like in our real life, somebody says they're going to show up and then they don't. And then you don't have a clue as to what happened to them. Are they dead? Are they alive? Why aren't they here? It's the same thing for this with job interviews. If you say yes to that interview, if you agree to the time and date, and then something comes up because life happens, you need to reach out and let someone know that right away, not just not show up, not log on, because that is you are not getting that job. Okay. If you just ghost me, you're done. That's just the policy. And I'm sure most companies are the same. So no call, no show, that's a no-go. All right. So before we move on to the last slide, is there anything else, any questions or anything anybody wants to talk about or ask?
Yes, we have another comment from Z. Z said, if you're going somewhere for the interview, allow extra time for expected travel challenges.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we have another comment from Facebook. This came from Teresa Placet, who said, my apologies if I missed it, but what are the important pieces of information needed to included on the resume? How many years of experience is captured? I worked for one employer 10 plus years, but in 3 different roles. Do I separate the roles by years performed or consolidate?
Well, I think that would be unique to each place, but for my preference, I'd like you to separate the roles because they're totally different jobs, even though you're at the same employer. So I prefer that you put everything you've done on your job, on your resume. And I understand that may not be in fashion right now. People kind of need it condensed because you do want it on one page if possible. So people tend to cut things out. But if you can fit all of your experience on that page, I prefer that because I like to know what you've done. Because maybe what you've been doing lately has nothing to do with what you'll be doing with me, but maybe you did this for years and someplace else. And I would like to know about that. But yeah, I would definitely say put all of your positions and break them out separately because the thing about resumes and cover letters is someone has to read them. So you don't want to overwhelm someone with information. You want to be like a snapshot, but a nice, neat snapshot. But you also want to try to get as much about you into that snapshot as possible. So for me, I always say, keep it simple. I don't need your picture. I don't need a fancy graphic that's taking up a, 1/3 of the page. I just need the information about you. So the fancy resume, I mean, I'm sure people pay a lot of money for them. I'm not sure, but the simple resume, simple, neat, clean, and professional will give you more space on the page as well to really spotlight yourself and who you are and what what you've done. Okay. So that would be something that I would say. So Teresa, yeah, break them all down and, each year and cover as much as you can in that page so that everybody knows your greatness. All right. Anything else in the chat before we move on? All right, Sister Afriye, have a wonderful day. Thank you. Security.
Let's see. Oh yes, on Facebook, Cheryl said, "I love it. Ghost your interview and you are toast for the job."
There you go. If you ghost, you're toast. Okay, I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we can move on to the slides next.
Okay, let's move on to the last slide. We're gonna wrap it up. Okay, so now after the interview, follow the instructions that the interviewer gave you. They will tell you what the next steps are, what you can do, what you should do, what to expect. You'll hear from this person or that person, or call me in 2 weeks and I will be in touch with you, whatever it is. They will let you know what the instructions are. Everyone is a little different. For me, my instructions are to the person, you will not hear from me. There is no need to contact me. You will not hear from me. You will hear from XYZ. And this is the time frame at which you will hear from them. If you send me an email, I will not respond. If you call me, I will not call you back. Because of the nature of what I do, I'm not in that role and I'm not permitted to interact at that point. Because we have to always be impartial. And it can't be, oh, well, then she sent me flowers, or she was so nice, or she called me and we talked, so I have to cut things off after the interview. And the next time you'll hear from me is if we're working together. Okay. And I'll be calling you to let you know that, we're offering you the position. But different jobs have different rules. So follow the instructions. I will tell everyone point blank what I just said to you, and I will definitely, without fail, get an email from 80% of the people and a phone call from them saying, I haven't heard, like I just gave you all the instructions, and I laid everything out for you. And if you happen to get me on the phone, I'll just remind you, remember after the interview where I said, you won't hear from me? You really won't. You'll hear from XYZ person by such and such date, but it sets a tone. It sets the wrong tone. You're not listening. You didn't follow the instructions that were given to you at the interview. So follow the instructions, whatever they are. And if appropriate, you send a thank you email. Like I said, in my situation, it's not appropriate. I don't need it. I'm not going to respond to it. I'm not even going to open it. But because I don't want to read receipt on it. Paper trails are huge for me. So I'm not going to do anything with that email. But some places, that's part of the culture. So that's where you want to look at do your research about the company. You want to look in glassdoor.com to find out how their interviews are and what you do during their interviews, because a lot of times it's quite appropriate to send a thank you email and even call the person and follow up with them later. So you have to know the culture of the company or agency and follow the instructions. Okay, so I am complete. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
We do have some comments here in the chat. Let me just do that. Okay, here we go. Okay, Teresa E. Placid on Facebook said, break them down. Thank you, Sister Gina. Sister Gina.
Sure, Sister.
And Laura Clark said, be honest and maintain eye contact with your interviewer.
Yes, yes, you want to be honest. And I learned a little thing about eye contact because I'm a big eye contactor. There is a way to maintain appropriate eye contact. Some people cannot handle the intensity of the one-on-one scrutiny for 15, 20, 30, 40, 60 minutes. It's uncomfortable. It makes them squirm. So I had to learn to sometimes look away. Sometimes when I'll ask the question while the person is answering, I'll look down to write a note, just to break the eye contact for a couple of seconds and then come back to them. So just remember, when you're making eye contact, to some people, like I said, I am an eye contactor. It could be a lot. It could be intense. It could be intimidating. So also just make eye contact, but then every minute or so, just break it for a couple of seconds. Look down for a second. You don't want to be shifty-eyed and, but you just want to kind of give them a break from being so plugged into you. But yes, eye contact is very important. Anything else in the chat before we wrap it up?
Yes, there's a question here from Z. She said, is it okay to send a thank you anyway, just on GP, even if they won't read it?
I mean, everyone's so different. I wouldn't if they tell you don't. I just wouldn't. Like, it's annoying to me. I have so many emails and it's like, oh, I told them they won't hear from me, don't contact me. And she did it anyway. It doesn't affect whether you're going to get the job or not, but it's just, I don't have time. That's another reason I'm telling you that, is because I don't have time to read it nor respond, But if it's something that you just do on a general principle, then, go ahead. I don't, like I said, for me, if someone tells me not to do something, I don't do it. If they don't tell me not to, then sure, why not? It's pretty normal and natural to say thank you after something has, someone done something for you. So, that's going to be your decision. But I would say if they definitely tell you don't, I wouldn't. All right. Are we all complete with the questions, or are there any other questions before we wrap up?
There was someone, let me see who did ask. Okay, Deborah was asking for a confirmation on the website Glassdoor, which Z answered to. But I wanted to ask, what's the extension? Glassdoor.net
Com.
or
.com.
.com? Okay,
Yes.
so Glassdoor.com.
Yes, Glassdoor.com. And yeah, that's a clearinghouse for job listings, but also cultures in companies. You can look, if you're looking to apply at a company, Glassdoor will tell you, look, what's it like to work there? What are they, what's the culture? And then also you can look into the interviewing process at that company and find out what that's like too.
Okay, great. We can bring your contact info and share whether you have that special offer.
Okay, so yes, this is my contact information. So you can call me at 732-882-7387. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Everything is Sankofa Sojouns. Okay. And my email address is sankofasojourns@gmail.com. So we came up with a special offer, thanks John Carl, whereby if you email me, I will give you, 30 minutes of time. If you have an interview coming up and you want to, talk about it or run things past me, I will give you 30 minutes, a 30-minute consultation where we can sit and talk about the interview, your upcoming interview, to help you make the most of it, and yeah, that's an offer that's open. I'm trying to think of how long this offer can be open. Just if you have an interview coming up and you're not sure and you want to talk about it, shoot me an email at sankofasojourns@gmail.com. Okay. I can promise you at least 30 minutes of time so that we'll work it out, because I want you to get that job. I want you to get that funding.
Thank you, Gina. And we don't have an individual special offering today, but today and all days, we have our monthly automated love offerings and donations. And it helps us to continue this community going with valuable information, like what was offered to you to hear what was offered to you here today by Gina, and your offerings make this possible. You can, the chat, the link is posted in the chat here on Zoom and in Facebook, and you can click that link, take you directly to the amount that you wanted to share, whether it is 25 monthly, 50, 75, or 100 monthly. You can click on the appropriate link and you can share that with us. And we appreciate and thank you so very much for, in advance, for your offerings.
Yes, and join us tomorrow for Coach Mika Joseph, and she will be leading us in the session, Surrendering to Love. Now, you know that's going to be juicy. You know that's going to be fire. It's Coach Mika. Just be here tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. Okay, set your clocks.
I definitely agree with you, Gina. Mika is always fire. Her sessions are always so valuable. And for the newcomers, we welcome you. Welcome to a community where we come to learn, elevate, and ascend. And if you're here with us this morning, we ask that you share in the chat, whether this is your first day, your first week, you know, it's your first month with us. You just joined us in the month of December. You're a newcomer. Share it in the chat so a community can welcome you with love. Thank you so very much. And here's the schedule for our newbies. We have, we're here 5 days a week. Our Zoom live workshops, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 7 to 8:30 a.m. And on Mondays and Wednesdays, which is Wednesdays today from 7 to 7:30, or a little bit longer if it is necessary. And we're always streaming live on Facebook. And if you never want to miss our live session where you can interact with our facilitators and ask your important questions, get them answered, you can get your Woo alerts. We invite you to text Woo Nation to the number 74121. Again, that's Woo Nation to 74121. And here is our Woo swag, making great Christmas gifts, holiday gifts, whatever you celebrate. And thank you, Gina. I see that sweatshirt you're wearing with our logo on there. It's a beautiful logo, I must say myself. And we invite you to visit our swag store, bit.ly Woo Swag. You can click there and go check out the merchandises. And as you can see here, make great Christmas gifts. I'm loving that that leggings right there. I love the placement of the logo. I love the way it coordinates, you know, the black and the white. It's beautiful. And we have candles and mugs, and we still have our tote bags. We also have notebooks, several things that are not displayed right here. So check us out in the Woo Swag store. And I want to thank you again. And several ways you can stay in touch. You can register with us at this community at bit.ly Wake Up Movement. Or you can join us on Facebook, bit.ly/Woo Community for our private page, and bit.ly Woo Nation for our public page. We're on Instagram at Wake Up Everybody Virtual, and on YouTube, bit.ly/Woo on YouTube. Or you can email us directly, info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. And we welcome your shares and information, questions, and we appreciate you. And I'm going to take down the screen share right now so that you can bless Gina and thank her for this amazing and wonderful informational session this morning.
Yes, thank you, everyone. This has been fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you, Sister Laura.
Thank you, Gina, for this great presentation on the job interview. And I just want to say, let's move forward, everybody, and have a blessed day.
Thank you, Adam. Hey,
Mwah.
Sister
Mwah.
Deborah.
Thank you, family. Love you, love you, love you.
Let's
Thank you,
continue to be
everyone.
magical. Let's continue to co-create.
Awesome. Thank you sis, for a great presentation. Appreciate it. Got some
Thank you.
gems from you, and I will be utilizing them and sharing them with my
Knowledge.
children as well. You have a
Excellent.
blessed
Thank
day,
you.
sis.
You
And
too.
thanks for your
Thank
beautiful
you.
smile this morning also. Appreciate that as
Oh,
well.
thank you. Thank you.
Bless.
All right. Thanks,
For the wonderful
everyone.
information.
Sure, you're welcome. Thank you. Have a great day.